welcome back to Jacob's Toys 5-minute figure reviews. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you're enjoying the channel. So today we are obviously looking at the Walgreens exclusive Quasar figure. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the character, Quasar was actually multiple people throughout the Marvel Universe, but this particular version is Wendell Vaughn. Quasar gets his power from the quantum bands that he has on each of his wrists, or more specifically the 7 gems on each one of the bands. So taking a look at the figure, it comes with 2 flame effects that go over the fisted hands. He also comes with 2 open palm hands so that you can simulate that kind of flying pose as well. So Quasar first appeared in 1979 in the Incredible Hulk series and went on to have a 60-issue run between the years of 1989 and 1994. Definitely go and have a read if you're unfamiliar with the character, because he's quite cool, and what makes him unique is, I suppose, he is just an ordinary person that gets his power from these bands. So having a look at the actual figure, it's actually not a bad figure. It's quite nice, but I can't quite put my finger on what body mould it is, only because it's got pinless arms but it has pins in the legs. Now the feet, in my opinion, look quite big in respect to the rest of the body, but we'll have a look at that a little bit later. And obviously he comes with the accessories that we see, and obviously the cape that he is wearing. So let me just adjust these feet a little bit, just so I can get him into kind of a more of a neutral pose. But if you have a look, they are quite big. You can just kind of see there in comparison to his legs, and in comparison to the rest of the body, they just look a little bit oversized. But it's not the end of the world. So if I just take the cape off quickly, I just pop the head back on, and you can see that the body type is quite peculiar. It's not one that I would expect to see on a figure that doesn't have a cape, and whether obviously they've gone for these arms on this body mold just so that we get more of a broad shouldered look underneath the cape, I don't know. But if you actually have a look at the cape in a little bit more detail, it's actually really nice, and this is definitely the standout part of this figure in my opinion. It looks to me to be a new mold, and the paintwork on the inside is absolutely beautiful to look at. Obviously it's got that kind of starry night look that represents the look of him in the comics. If you have a look at the head sculpt is a new head sculpt, and it looks really nice. It's really well done. The paint applications on it are very nice, and the hair has a nice kind of two-tone look to it as well. Having a look at the arms here, as I said, they are pinless, which is always nice on any figure. You can have a little bit of a closer look at the bands there as well. And just move him down a little bit, and you can see here that there are pins on the leg, which is a shame because obviously in the red paint there of the boot extension you can see the blue pin, and there are those oversized huge feet. But yeah, as a figure he's quite nice. I mean, I'm definitely 100% pleased that we finally got the Quasar figure anyway, and there's not a huge amount to really complain about. As I said, the arms do look a bit out of proportion if you take the cape off, but then when you've got the cape on they absolutely look fine, and the feet do look a little bit large when you really look at them, but when you have him standing in kind of a neutral or a pose for a photograph, you wouldn't necessarily know. Now if I take the hand off, you can see here that the bands are removable as well, which is always quite cool, because then it just means that you can put them on other figures, or of course you can remove him if you're going to use him for a custom, and you've got 2 almost bare arms. I'll just switch the hands around to those kind of, I call them like the Superman hands. They kind of remind me of that kind of flying pose that Superman dons in a lot of the comics. But yeah, I mean, they're not my favourite hands if I'm perfectly honest. But in this particular, for this particular figure, they work quite nicely, and there's definitely the opportunity to have a few flying shots there as well. But I think, to be perfectly honest with you, for me, posing him and having him on my shelf, I won't use these hands. I'll probably put these in my fodder box, and I'll have the closed fist hands with the flame effects on the end. It looks like a kind of no stop kind of look there. So yeah, they're not my favourite hands, but it's always nice to have an extra set of hands with any figure. So let me just take those back off and put the fists back on, and I'll get him into a bit of a neutral pose. But yeah, all in all, pretty nice figure. Now I know the distribution for this figure has been quite varied, and obviously it being a Walgreens exclusive, a lot of people in the States have struggled to find him. However, he is showing up, so do keep your eyes peeled, and if you get the opportunity, I would definitely recommend picking him up, because he is definitely a welcomed addition for any cosmic shelf or cosmic collection. And as I said, if you don't know much about the character, do go and have a read. To be perfectly honest with you, my knowledge is quite limited on this particular character. I do remember reading a few of the runs, but I'm not a die-hard Quasar fan. I haven't read like all 60 issues, but do go and have a look. Do go and pick them up and do a bit of research on the character, because it is quite cool. And one thing that I think I said earlier that I quite liked about him is that essentially you put these what they called the quantum bands on, and you become Quasar, which was always quite a nice touch. Now, if I actually look at the QC on these open palm hands, they're not actually that good. There's a lot of kind of flaky plastic, especially around the thumbs, so they're not the best fodder hands. But as I said, I'm not going to use them, so they will just go in the fodder box. But yeah, all in all, pretty decent figure, definitely worth going and picking up. Now, I've overrun a little bit there, so I'm going to round this one up. But yeah, if you get a chance, do pick him up, keep your eyes open, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.